Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio, where we provide actionable health information on a week-to-week basis that can help you improve your life. Feel free, head over to justinhealth.com, where we have various opt-in video series on more in-depth health topics such as female hormones, thyroid, and gut health. Also, while you're there, feel free and schedule a consult with myself, Dr. J, and or my colleagues. We're available worldwide to provide natural health support for any of your major health issues. Again, welcome to the podcast and enjoy the show. And we are live. It's Dr. J here in the house with Evan Brand. We're coming off an amazing Super Bowl win just last night. I'm a big Tom Brady fan, big Patriots fan growing up in the Boston area. So we have to kind of connect what's happening with current events to health, right? We know Tom Brady, oldest quarterback ever, most successful. He's the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time. And there's definitely some nutritional and health secrets and tips I think we can parse from his experience. Maybe we can apply to ourselves for optimal performance and function. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I think that he's doing everything that we're preaching all the time. So it's great to be able to see that the proof is in the pudding. You're not seeing any amazing performing vegan quarterbacks. Maybe there's some out there, but none that I know on mainstream television like this.
Well, the problem with, you can look at Cam Newton was vegan a couple of years back and he had a lot of big bone and foot injuries. This part of the reason why is unless you're doing tons of protein powders, it's really hard to get a lot of the dense amino acids you need for rebuilding your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments. You're also not getting a lot of the collagen amino acids to turn over your cartilage and tendons and stuff. And then also really important fatty acids. You need fats to have healthy cell membranes. These fats are like a really important kind of building block for kind of buffering your cells, helping your cells be more flexible because fats are that outer cell membrane. And when you look at vegan, vegetarian fats, a lot of them are going to be polyunsaturated fats, higher in omega-6. These fats tend to be a little bit more fragile, a little bit more heat sensitive, and a little bit more, let's say, oxidizable in the body because there's more omega bonds, right? So omega-6 fat means there's 4 or 6 double bonds throughout that long chain fatty acid. And double bonds, they're not as resistant, they're not as pliable, okay? They're more fragile and they can oxidize with heat and stress. And so the benefit of having animal fats is you have a lot more stability because the fats are more saturated. You have a lot of fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K in there. And then you don't have the oxidizable nature. Anytime you oxidize a whole bunch of fats, you're gonna require a lot of antioxidants to help stabilize those cell membranes because oxidation means those cells have lost electrons, and you need antioxidants that are willing to give up an electron to stabilize it. So good saturated fatty acids. Again, fish oil, wonderful, right? But it's an omega-3, so it's a little bit more heat sensitive. But if you're doing some good omega-3s with some saturated fats and you're keeping some good balance, omega-3s are going to be wonderfully anti-inflammatory. And they're a plant-based omega-3s. They don't quite get converted to the active omega-3s in DHA, EPA. 80% don't get converted or kind of lost in that conversion via that delta 5 desaturase enzyme. So that's the first thing on the fats.
Let's go through the list here. So they're calling it his NFL diet, which is kind of funny because, like I said, this is the diet that you and I are pretty much prescribing for almost everyone. He's saying here that, of course, he's got a private chef. Of course, at that level of wealth, you're going to have private chef. 80% of what he's eating is vegetables. He's getting the freshest vegetables. If they're not organic, he doesn't use it. And he will do some rice. He will do some quinoa, some millet. He's doing grass-fed organic steak. He's doing duck. He says every now and then he'll do chicken. He's doing wild salmon. He uses raw olive oil, but he doesn't cook with it. He only cooks with coconut. Yep. And he uses Himalayan salt and never uses iodide salt. And then no nightshades, which you and I've done podcast on autoimmune protocol. And you're going to pull out the nightshades. So he's saying here, no tomatoes, peppers, mushroom, or eggplants. Tomatoes trickle in every now and then, he said he's very cautious about them. No coffee, no caffeine, no fungus, no dairy.
So a couple of things to highlight there. So number one, just I want to highlight a few things is Tom's using saturated fats to cook with. Why? We've already talked about that. They're a lot more heat stable. They're not going to oxidize. They're not going to break down. Also, coconut oil is very good for your cell membranes. And if you're kind of switching into a fat burner status, right, you kick off a lot of ketones, a lot of fatty acid metabolites called ketones from coconut, which is very high in medium chain triglycerides, right? This is C6, C8, C10, C12, right? Capric, caprylic, caproic, and lauric acid. These are your medium chain triglycerides. So very important for fat burning. Also, Tom does about 20% meat. So that's good quality, organic, high quality, grass fed meat, right? So he's probably consuming with his, what, he's 6'4, 230 pounds. So he's probably consuming about at least 3 to 4,000 calories a day if he's really active and working out. So you can imagine he's probably consuming about, I'm going to guess, between 160 to 250 grams of protein a day, probably around that, depending if he's lifting or how sore he is. And also, he's cutting down a lot of the nightshades. Now, nightshades may be okay. A lot of my patients may be listening and saying, well, Doc Jay started me off on an autoimmune diet. I could add back in some nightshades, some tomatoes, some potatoes, and that may be great for you. But when your joints are under a lot of stress and a lot of inflammation from big linebackers tackling you every Sunday, your joints may be a little bit predisposed to inflammation, and those nightshades and that alpha solanine content may be just enough to flare it up. So depending on how active you are, nightshades may be something you want to keep down if inflammation in your joints is a problem.
Yeah, yeah. And, I think with the fruit thing, it's interesting too. He's saying he's not really doing fruits. Occasionally does something in a smoothie, maybe some berries or banana in a smoothie. But beyond that, he's not really doing fruit. So, I mean, yeah, you would assume he probably is, you know, I wouldn't say keto because he does say he is doing some grains, some rice and stuff. But I mean, in general, this is what you and I are doing every day personally, every day clinically. He's saying he does do nuts, or he'll do a organic salad, and that could be roasted chicken with guacamole and mixed nuts. So, what else here? What
I
else did
also
he
know
say?
Tom does a lot of protein, and his big protein is whey. So he does whey protein. Whey protein is an excellent protein because it's very high in sulfur amino acids, very high in cysteine, very high in MSM, or not MSM, but methionine. So it's high in a lot of the sulfur-based amino acids, glutamine, glycine, cysteine, taurine. So whey protein is really good. I mean, it's 99% dairy free. So even though I think Tom doesn't do dairy, I think he may do a little bit of butter in there, but it's a good amino acid. Now, if you're sensitive, you could always do pea protein or just collagen amino acids if dairy or the potential that even a tiny bit of dairy is a problem. Again, whey protein is 99% lactose and casein free. So most people that have dairy problems are with the lactose and the casein. So that's one component. Tom also doesn't do a lot of coffee. Now, I think coffee may be okay for many people. I think Tom's issue with coffee is the diuretic aspect and the minerals. I know Tom talks about minerals a lot. Now, you could still do coffee, just keep it to once a day, do your 1 or 2 servings in the morning, take it with fat and amino acids, and just make sure you're hydrating before and after, and you are supplementing extra electrolytes. Your muscles and your cells need good levels of sodium and potassium so that sodium potassium pump and that good cellular communication can happen. That's very, very important.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, we should title this podcast the Super Bowl diet or something, or this how to win a Super Bowl diet. Now, in regards to the training, I don't have any details on that, but I mean, I will say that in general, he's an athlete, obviously, so he's probably going to benefit more. Some of the people may say, well, what about the grains? You guys always talk like grains are a bad thing. I think in his case, he's going to need some more starch. I just feel like in general, if you were trying to perform at that level and he were just like strict keto, like just meats and veggies, I don't think he would perform as well.
So Tom does a lot more starches in the wintertime. And so his big starches are still going to be safe starches, grain-free starches. So sweet potatoes are, from what I understand, are going to be a big source of a lot of the starch that he consumes in the winter. And Tom, from what I have seen, is grain-free.
I don't know. Maybe he changed it. This one article said that he was doing rice, millet, beans, and quinoa.
Yeah, I've seen other articles, and again, that may be something that he does, but I'm pretty sure during the season he is 100% grain free. I know he's gluten free.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a couple articles talking about him getting more sweet potatoes and other safe starches. But again, it depends, right? A lot of those foods are pseudo grains, like the quinoa is. The beans, if you have good digestion, maybe, right? So it depends kind of where you're at on that. I've seen a lot of grain free, but definitely gluten free, right? The problem with gluten free is you can consume rice and oat and still be gluten free, but they're still not grain free. So
Yeah.
grain free, I think, is going to be a big component. And then I think the other thing is I have seen in Tom's locker room, I have seen him with creatine in his locker. So I do know creatine is a powerful thing as a fuel your muscle uses. So creatine and whey protein, and I think BCAAs are something that he uses on a day in, day out basis just for easy, accessible fuel for his muscles out of the gates. Hydration's a big component. Electrolytes are a big component. Mostly a paleo autoimmune kind of template, I think, is a big one out of the gates there. And I know Tom's trainer, Alex Guerrero, is a big kind of proponent of acid alkaline diet kind of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of that. But in general, if you're consuming good quality meat and lots of vegetables, you're pretty much going to not be overly acidic anyway because of the alkalinity from the vegetables. And in regards to the pH thing, people forget, right? Meat may be acidic, but grains are actually 10 times more acidic than meat. So if someone is concerned about pH in their food, remember grains are going to be 10 times more acidic than meat. It's a logarithmic scale, right? Meat's like around a five-ish. I think grains are in the 4 range. So each number is a 10x, interval from the previous number.
Yeah. And people listening are like, well, I'm not performing in any Super Bowls. So what do I do? I mean, honestly, you can benefit from the same thing. Like I said, we're implementing this clinically. I do rice. I feel fine with it. I don't have any issue. It's not a staple for me. It's a treat. But, I think it depends on what's going on with your gut, with your blood sugar, with your sensitivity. I mean, it is possible you have some gluten cross reactivity. So, if you're looking for advice, I see in general do what we'd mentioned, but with the grain piece, I don't know. You really got to consult with us and look at your labs, because I think that's how we could base it off.
100%. I mean, the big thing is, hey, you want to be active. You want to be able to play with your kids. You want to be able to do your hobbies, do your sports, be active well into your old age. And it's not about years, it's about quality of years, right? So it's about being able to do your thing, right? And I'd say the more you can participate in life and not notice the pain in your body, that's the better. The more you can be present with your kids and your family and your hobbies, the more you're worried about your back and your elbow and your knee as you're doing the activity, I think the less present you're going to be. And so I think one of the key things is just keep your body in a great place so you can do all those things. Now, from a training standpoint, I know, Tom, just so you know, I think what you said is perfect regarding like rice and such. As long as you don't have a serious active autoimmune issue, you could probably cheat on some of that stuff as long as you don't have a significant symptoms afterwards. I think it's probably okay as long as it's in that 80-20, 80% of the time, not 20%, maybe okay. I had my birthday last weekend. We had some crab fried rice, and of course it was gluten free, but just a little bit of it, and I felt good afterwards. So you always can mitigate that. From a training standpoint, though, Tom really trains for pliability. He doesn't overly inflame his muscles with too much lifting because he wants to keep his muscles strong and active and be able to contract, turn on and off fast. But he also doesn't want to overly inflame the muscle and cause it to become reflexively stiff. Think of it as like beef jerky. He wants a strong muscle, but not a muscle that's going to be overly inflamed that won't absorb force. So it's kind of like a soft raw filet steak versus beef jerky, right? Beef jerky is hard and stiff. And if you put a lot of force into it, it can kind of tear, right? Think of that soft tenderloin. It's like a sponge. It can absorb force. So Tom's kind of training modality is training for pliability, training for force absorption. So not overly inflaming the muscle. So doing a lot of band work and doing works that really not overly hypertrophy and cause the muscle to get more inflamed and bigger and stronger, but strong, but also smart strong and not overly inflamed and hard and stiff. So the pliability is important because he has to absorb force and he has to put repetitive inflammation on it from throwing and doing certain movements. So he wants that force to be distributed throughout his muscles well and not rip that beef jerky every week, if you will.
Yeah, and that's probably a better approach for most people too. I mean, like you mentioned, maybe the people on the defensive side, the line, they're going to have a totally different strength training profile than him. He wants to be lean, he wants to be flexible, nimble. So that's what I want to be. I don't want to be just huge and strong like a rock. I want to be just nimble. I want to be flexible but still have strength.
Yeah, some of the band work's nice. I mean, you can get bands that provide a lot of force, like the X3 bar band is one that I have because you can provide hundreds of pounds of force and create a 300 to 400 pound deadlift through that band. Squats as well, push movements, pull movements. So you can still create a lot of force. The thing I like about bands is just if I use some technical terms, is most people, they hurt themselves in the eccentric motion of a lift. In other words, you're going into a squat, right? And you drop down at the bottom. Maybe you go a little bit too fast, or you're doing a deadlift at the bottom. You kind of bounce that bar up, or you're doing some kind of a bench press and you're overly trying to push that thing back up, and you come down too hard and stretch that muscle. The nice thing about a band, it's more forgiving as you go into a eccentric motion, as you elongate as you elongate the muscle, right? So in other words, you're going deeper into a squat, or you're letting the bar go deeper into your chest, the elasticity in the band becomes less, because the band's becoming it's moving closer to its origin and insertion. So there's less force. So where your muscle's the most compromised, it's putting the least amount of force on that muscle. So there's less chance for you to injure it. And that's helpful. So if you're an athlete, that can be helpful. If you're an everyday person, it just gives you that little bit more forgiveness so you don't get hurt.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I think that's all I really need to say about it. I mean, I think we could ramble on about how awesome it is that this is probably the one of the most successful athletes of all time, and he's doing what we're telling people to do every day. I think it makes us look good, but beyond that, I don't have anything else to add.
The only other thing I would say, supplement wise, amino acids, creatine, BCAAs. On the mind psychology side, visualization is very important. Anytime you go into an event like the Super Bowl, if you can go into that place thousands of times ahead of time, in your head, it gives your nervous system the ability to feel like it's not a foreign environment. The more you can put your body in your mind into a place thousands of times or hundreds of times ahead of time, once you go in there, that fight or flight response is less likely to happen. When there's less fight or flight, you can use your frontal cortex better, right? Frontal cortex allows you to think, read the play, do all the things you got to do, go through your reads as a quarterback. The more your fight or flight's happening, the more you're going to react out of fear, and that may not give you the best opportunity. So I'd say that's big. I would say sleep is a big component. You kind of already highlighted that, probably 10 hours a night. There's other modalities that Tom's using. He's using certain clothing types that are infrared in regards to generate infrared heat, which helps decrease inflammation, help with blood flow. I've heard things in regards to potential laser stuff, infrared lights, hyperbaric oxygen. These are all other potential modalities that may be used, may not be accessible to the average person, but when you're making tens of millions of dollars off your body, they help with reducing inflammation. And then other things may involve stem cell stuff, things like that outside of the season. Who knows? I mean, Tom looks amazing,
Oh, one last
amazingly
thing.
healthy. Yeah.
One last thing. I did see that he's like strictly no tech in the bedroom. So luckily he's not bringing the cell phone into the bedroom. So maybe he does have some kind of EMF mitigation strategy in place too. That would be smart.
There's probably some EMF mitigation there, I think, as well. And then also, I know that's a big one. I know he also is a big thing in regards to temperature control at bedtime. He really mitigates, he tries to dial in the optimal temp at bedtime for deeper sleep. I know that's around 65 to 69 degrees Fahrenheit on the bedtime side. Is there anything else? I would say outside of that, pliability component, good training. Just think about I think that's really the big one. I know he has a big smoothie in the morning with some banana and some fruit and some whey protein. So I like smoothies in the morning, because if your digestion isn't great or you have to get up and work out in a few hours, you don't want a big solid food in your body. You want something easily accessible. So I think that's great for anyone that's being more active in the morning. I think we hit a lot of the major things. So if someone's listening here, how do you become more like Tom Brady out of the gates? I think you kind of progress to a paleo template, see if nightshades are an issue for you or not, right? Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers. Look at adding in some bands to a little bit more of your workout to stimulate muscle growth. I think add in good sleep, add in hydration, add in minerals. You can always play around with amino acids to help enhance body. Anabolic metabolism, healing and recovery. Minerals, of course, I think is great. And mindset's always great too. Anything else you want to add, Evan?
No, there's probably some other secret supplements we don't know about, but
Yep.
it'd be interesting to know with adaptogens and all of that, or if he's doing, neurotransmitter support. Maybe if he's doing BCAAs, who knows? Maybe he's doing some brain support too, right? Like some phosphatidylserine or some acetyl L-carnitine. I bet there's some of that stuff in there too.
There's definitely some more stuff in there. I 100% agree. So,
Yeah.
hey, this gives everyone a good start, kind of a little bit of an insight. I know Tom Brady's one of those guys, you either love him or hate him, but I mean, the fact that his longevity is there and his victories are high, the highest ever, right? He's the GOAT, greatest of all time. So we got to at least be able to kind of put our emotions aside and learn from it and see if there's a couple of things we can use to make our lives and our health better.
Awesome. Awesome. If
Well,
people need help clinically to implement some of this stuff, like I said, we do this every day with our clients. Tom Brady's not our client, but we would certainly be open to helping him run some labs on him. I'm sure we
or
could look.
is he? Or is he? No,
Maybe he might be. Be happy to look at his mitochondria, see what's going on there, make sure he's running on all cylinders. But if you need help, you can reach out to Dr. J at evanbrand.com, or me, Evan, at evanbrand.com. And we look forward to talking with you all next week.
Have a good one, y'all. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.